Alright you guys, and welcome back to a brand new sculpting video. And I recently made these tasty looking fruits for some shorts, and I thought, hey, why not make some more for a long form video? So that's exactly what I'm gonna do this week. And obviously when making fruits you always gotta start with the big three. An apple, a banana, and I couldn't decide on the third. Well, doesn't matter, since I'm making a banana anyways. And I figured I'll make use of its otherwise useless slack skin by making it stand on it. Just basic banana stuff. Once I blended in each of the slacky legs, I can add a fleshy layer on each, making sure to use basically the exact same yellow, so that it's completely useless, which leads to me having to paint over it later. That's some future problem though, and I certainly got enough problems to deal with at the moment, one of which could be why when thinking of sculpting a banana, I immediately lean into adding 3 skin legs and a tongue coming from its bottom. Speaking of which, I'm currently sculpting said tongue, which I can press into place after filling this questionable looking hole YouTube probably would like to demonetize me for. Joke's on them though, since I'm about as close to reaching monetization as I'd be to running a marathon with an absolute personal best of 800 meters. Anyways, after adding the tongue I took a glimpse on my monster checklist which said horns. So naturally I added some horns. Brushing on some texture via stolen toothbrush. I can then press my horns into place. And that's a friendly banana done, which now brings us onto the second fruit of this video. And I figured I want to make something orange. And since when choosing an orange fruit, you basically got 2 options, and since I want to save that carrot for part 2, I went ahead and made an orange. And although not on my monsters checklist, I still figured I'm an independent person, so I added a nose. And after poking in 2 nostrils, I have to say I would have liked to call it good here. But since this is supposed to be a video about making monster fruits, and I don't want to make it worse than it already is, I gave in and added some tentacles. Which I got from my checklist, of course. And I forgot to press record while chopping them into pieces, but I got you covered with this accurate re-illustration. I can then form each of my wieners into a pointy wiener, and that's 3 minutes without a wiener or a ball stroke, and that seems like a new personal best. Anyways, I then added a copious number of balls onto each of my 5 wieners, and to finish off this tedious process, I poked a tiny hole into each of them. And with my tremendous tentacles taken care of, I can press them onto the bottom of my orange. And by adding a tiny whiny stem, my orange is done, which now brings us onto the final fruit of this video. And since it would feel incredibly wrong to make a video about fruits without an apple in it, I want to start a debate on which apple is the superior apple by making a green apple. And admittedly, it would be kinda boring to make the exact same apple with a tongue, but just green. So I decided to give this apple some teeth and thereby ticking off the last checkpoint on my monster checklist. After placing each tooth into the correct hole, I can roll some tiny sausages working as some gums, holding each tooth in place. Whoops. I then made the ever important stem, sprouting from its top. And at this point, when looking at my apple, the only thing I see missing are some legs. And since I'm not just lazy but also extremely efficient, I'll be using some toothpicks for legs, cause I think the wooden texture fits quite well. So after chopping them to size, I'll add them to the body, making sure to give my apple a healthy lean forward, threatening to eat you, which I think is kinda ironic. And after locking them in place with some clay, I can toss my tasty fruit salad into the oven. After baking, they're nice and hard, which means I can get started painting. And since I'm all about keeping things chronological, I'll paint the banana first. In order to make it look even more horrifying, I'll give the already gross looking mouth and tongue a bloody red wash. Following that by painting the aforementioned unnoticeable inner skin with a lighter yellow. Moving on, I'll be adding some brown dots and discolorations to the skin, since I want to make it look like my banana has been through shit. And I don't mean that literally. Once my banana is looking sweet, I'll get some more of that light yellow on my brush and apply a highlighting dry brush to each horn. Now, I was considering covering my banana in copious amounts of blood, but since that might have been an overkill, I figured some saliva might also do the trick. And that's the first one done, meaning 2 more to go. Now, the paint job for the orange is pretty straightforward. I'll start by covering the orange with some, well, orange paint. I know, bear with me, that's some pretty complicated stuff. Sadly, the complexity level stays up, since I'll paint all the different colored parts in the same color, but using a slightly darker wash. In the hopes that said wash pools into all the divots and folds, leaving me with some nice shading. And that's pretty much it for the orange, which means the last thing to paint is the green apple. And to paint said green apple, I naturally start with some brown by covering the stem, as well as all 4 of his tiny pointy legs. Next up, I'll apply a wash to the mouth, which proved to be an exercise in futility since it's barely noticeable. Regardless of limited prior washing success, I still gave the apple's skin a slightly darker green wash, and that's my final horror fruit done. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Let me know which fruits you want to see for a potential part 2. Don't worry, carrot is already on the list. Make sure to also check out those 3 fellas I made for shorts. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. And I love you all.